Sam,
Good
hit your
morning,
mute button.
good morning, everybody. So the first thing we're going to talk about today is we are going to be talking about productivity. So I want to talk a few minutes about, and I want this to be roundtable discussion style, as to what you guys do to make sure that you're productive. Because one of the complaints I say every day is it's 3 o'clock and I have no idea where my day went. Like I wake up in the morning and I have this agenda that I want to get done for the day. There's no reason why I shouldn't be able to get it done. And for some reason, um, the day just runs away with me. So what I'd like to talk to you guys about is if you have any tips or tricks that you guys do that might help you be more productive and keep you more accountable. For me, it's that I have to get up early in the morning. And I'm not a morning person. Naturally, I'm much more of a night owl, but I have to get up early in the morning, or if I lounge around or go run errands in the morning and then try to get my day done, it just doesn't happen. So for me, I try to set aside an hour in the morning where I'm just quiet and I may be getting ready for work, but my mind is going the whole time. I'm not listening to music. Um, I'm not talking to anybody. I'm just making sure that I'm getting my to-do list straight in my head for before I get to the office or before I get to my computer. So would anybody care to share things they do, a to-do list, a weekly journal, things you do to help yourself be accountable to make sure you're making the real estate contacts that you should be making and making sure you're getting to all of those tasks that you know are necessary for us to have sales? Samantha, you're bound to have some good ones by now.
I have one good one. My brother was in sales, and I kept asking him how he got his leads. And he says at 7 o'clock every night, he sits down and calls 10 clients, whether they're past clients, referral clients. And out of those 10, he will always get two. So that is what I have been trying to get back. I've got all my files out, make sure I have all of their phone numbers, email addresses. I call them to say, hey, you guys been in your house now for 3 years. You thinking about selling? You know anybody that wants to buy or sell? Second thing I do is I get new brochures done with new pictures. And then when it's really nice, because my street's like elderly people, older people, so I know they're going to be going into homes maybe or selling soon enough. So when it's nice in the evening and they're usually sitting outside or on the deck, I'll just go up and take my card with a magnet and my brochure and just say, hey, I'm Samantha up the street. I'm your real estate agent. Let me know if you know of anybody and just how are you doing. And there's 3 houses right now getting ready to come on the market on my street. So I hope I get them.
That's
But
great.
that's usually what I do.
Mm-hmm.
Stay in touch. Communication is the best thing you can do.
Yep.
And another thing I do when I write a contract, I always make a copy of their driver's license. And that way I have their birth dates. And I always ask about children or pets. So when I call, I'll at least have asked them about their children or their pets. But I have a little index card that I keep. And behind each card, I put their names and their birth dates. So I check that every day. So if there's a birth date or something coming up, I can always shoot them an email or a birthday card. So that's what I do.
Very smart. And Facebook has made that much easier too.
Yes.
Now we're able to see when their kid wins the baseball tournament or when, their kid has a birthday. Yeah, absolutely. But it sounds like taking notes and keeping all of that in, for me, I don't have an organized way I'm keeping notes on all of my past clients. That is the key, is to make sure you've got a notebook where you're keeping it all in there so that you can.
Well, the index cards work great.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah. Anybody else? I use Gmail's email feature where you can decide when you want the email to go out. So you can pick a date in the future that you want the email to go out. So I have
do that.
I'm happy to show you where you would normally click send. the blue button for send on your email. So you craft your whole entire email, and then before you click send, there's a little drop down arrow right next on the send button. If you click that, you can pick a day and time in the future that you want that email to go out. So what might be nice to do is when you've got your birthday list out of when everybody's birthdays are, just go ahead and create those emails some Sunday when you've got 3 hours to just sit down with a cup of coffee and do it. Get all the emails crafted, and as you finish an email, you click the drop down menu to the right of the send button, and you put it to go out at 8 a.m. or 9 a.m. The day of their birthday. You pick a day on the calendar that Gmail is going to send that email out, and it'll just sit there in your outgoing folder until that date, and then it will send it out automatically for you. So that's a nice way to be able to do that. A couple of hours every 6 months and just get everybody loaded in there, and then schedule them all to go out on their actual birthdays. That's a free way to do it. You know, if you have Constant Contact or one of those types of apps that you're paying for, they have a template feature that would allow you to do it. But of course you have to pay for that. So Gmail has that schedule send feature, and you can use that to do basically the same thing. I use the schedule send feature to get caught up on emails at night. I try very hard at night to make sure that I have gone through every email I should have gotten to and have actually replied. Now at 11 p.m., I don't want to actually reply to those. I don't want the clients to think I don't want them to feel obligated to respond to me at 11 p.m., right? So when I may fire off 20 emails in the evening where I'm just getting back to people about things, but I'm going to use that schedule send feature to be able to set them all for 8 a.m. the next morning. Well, what's nice about that is by the time I get to the office at 9, they have already all received emails from me, and many of them have already responded to me. Instead of me getting in at 9 and feeling like, okay, I've got to hustle and get on all of those emails that I didn't get to last night. So that's been great. I've been trying to get in the habit on Sunday nights to go ahead and on Sunday night, going ahead and writing an email to every single one of my sellers just to say, hey guys, just wrapping up another week with your listing. We had X numbers of showings. I got this feedback, and then I'm going to click schedule send and set those for 8 a.m. Monday morning. That way, when they start their week on Monday morning, my sellers, the very first thing they're getting when they start their week is an email from me, their listing agent, giving them a review of the week prior. And I think that has gone a long way in making my sellers, I've only been doing that about a year now. That's gone a long way in my sellers feeling like they're top of mind for me, and that I am making sure I at least am reaching out once a week during their listing period, and that I'm actually contacting them at the beginning of the week. Because they're going into work Monday morning and sitting down and going, I wonder how my vacant house, I've already moved, I wonder how my vacant house is being shown. And they already have an email waiting for me when they get to their office. So that's been instrumental for me in making sure my sellers feel connected to me. Anybody have any questions about any of that, or anybody have any other techniques that they use?
Is there any technique you can use to get email addresses from your past clients?
I think certainly that would be a good excuse to call them and just say, hey, I'm using a new software program. I'm excited about being able to keep track of email addresses in it. I'm not going to spam you or anything, but I sure would like to occasionally send you, every couple of months or so, something that might be pertinent. Or if you'd like, I'd love to send you every year, a new CMA of how your house is comparing to others in the neighborhood. Would that be something you'd be interested in? I think that's probably going to be the best way to do it, because then you also have a reason to be calling them and a reason to be having that conversation with them. Every once in a while, you can just Google them or see if they have a LinkedIn account, or go on Facebook and see if they've listed their email address. Back in the day, Facebook used to display email addresses. Now it really doesn't do that unless you opt to display that in your About Me section. You can also send them a Facebook message. Now keep in mind, some people are not great about checking their Facebook messages. That'd be me.
Is there any way to get, because I signed up for Constant Contact and I've sent out a couple of emails. Is there any way to get your Zillow list? I know there's a way to do it. I just don't know how to do it. Over to Constant Contact.
What do you mean by your Zillow list?
My the leads that I've gotten from Zillow,
I
I want to
see.
get those over into Constant Contact.
I don't know if there's a way to do it other than manually entering them. But I certainly can do some research online and see about that for you, Sam. I'll write that down and
On
look into
Constant
that.
Contact, they have the Zillow icon there, and it
Mhm.
says integration. So I know there's a way to do it.
Okay.
And Constant Contact didn't know how to do it. So,
Okay. All right.
but
I'll
that's
take a look
something
into
that I
that.
would like to do because
Of
they're
course.
still active clients.
Absolutely. And, Constant Contact does have a field for anniversary. So when
Yeah.
you're putting those past clients in, for me, I'm not putting in their wedding anniversary. I'm putting in the date that they sold their house. The other thing I'm doing in Constant Contact is I am making tags in Constant Contact that is the year the person bought their house. So that way all my past clients from 2018 have a tag on them that says 2018. That way, if I want to just send out a generic email to all of them that says, you've owned your home for 3 years, it's very easy to just tag those contacts that have 2018 as a tag and go ahead and send that out to clients next year when I want to celebrate that they have 3 years of home ownership. So there are some tools available on Gmail and Constant Contact and Facebook business page, things that you can use to continue to reach out to your clients.
I don't know how to do that.
Well, I am positive I can find you some YouTube videos showing you how to do it. Now, the other thing I want to talk about today is regarding additionally more info about productivity. I want to talk about having a buddy. We all know that if you want to get to the gym, you're much more likely to get there if you know there's going to be a buddy there waiting for you to work out with you. So I want us to all think about how we might be able to use that same idea when it comes to our real estate sales. Is there a buddy at the company that you could say, hey, let's meet once a month and just do a little goal setting? Let's meet once a month and brainstorm ways to generate more leads. It's great to have a buddy because when we go on vacation, we're going to want to be able to have somebody handle our transactions for us while we're gone. But I think we're underutilizing that buddy if we're not also using them to help keep us accountable to make sure that we're setting goals and meeting them when it comes to our sales and when it comes to our contacting past clients and trying to generate that sphere of influence's growth. So if you already have a buddy that you communicate with and that you use sometimes when you say, hey, I can't get out to Botetourt Sunday, can you go show a house for me? Go ahead and talk to them and see if they'd be open to just meeting every 2 weeks or meeting once a month and sitting down and having some goal setting conversation about what are they doing that they're finding success in? What are you doing that you're finding successful? And then sharing those ideas and actually formalizing those. When you know that you're going to be meeting back at the coffee shop a month from now, and you know that you guys gave each other some goals to achieve, you're going to be more accountable and making sure those have happened. If you know you're going to be sitting there and they're going to be saying, okay, how did it go last month? You are not going to be saying, well, it was a good idea, but I didn't do any of it. You're going to actually try a little harder. And I'm here to tell you, I can set a goal and 6 months later, it's still my same goal and I haven't made one step towards it because life gets in the way. I understand that. I understand that's human nature. So what I'm saying is you might want to force your own hand by having someone else be on your team, if you will, and just checking in on you. Does anybody have anybody they do goal setting with? Anybody have anybody they share their ideas with? Is that something that appeals to you? Deepak, you cleared your throat. That means you're up.
I know. No, I mean, I don't know. It's just like you come up with an idea and it may hit, and like sometimes I don't feel like sharing it with anybody. You know what I mean?
True.
This is a sales business. It can't kind of tell you what are you trying to do. It's kind of, how it is.
Yeah, your trade secrets.
Yeah. So I mean, you can't unless you have some kind of partnership with them. Okay, well, all right, if you make a lead out of this, and it's just too much complicated. So
Okay.
So
Well,
I'll
but
tell you one thing that I do.
Please, Carla.
Yep. I have an accountability partner who is in another state. So she's in Louisiana. We've never met. We met in a Facebook group.
Awesome.
A little bit over a year ago. And we've got plans to kind of connect face-to-face in a conference next year. So it's an effective way to avoid what Deepak's talking about. So you're not kind of mirroring or doing the exact same thing with somebody who's in your same market, but you still have that level of accountability, someone to bounce your ideas off of, and someone who gives you additional ideas of things you haven't even thought of or that are available, to do for your lead generating activities and things like that. So it's helpful. We're both night owls. Not unusual for us to be on the phone at night, at 11 o'clock. We Zoom a lot too. So it can be really effective. When it came to setting up this crazy chatbot subscription thing that I cannot work, she literally held my hand and got me through it. So it can be really effective.
That is fantastic sharing. Thank you, Carla. And if you are not already a member of some Facebook groups that are real estate focused, I highly encourage you to seek some out. I'm a member of several. One is Empowering Women Through Real Estate, and those women are on there all the time sharing ideas and resources. There are lots of them. Labco Agents is another one that has just thousands and thousands of real estate agents in that group. However, I will caution you that if you are ever in a group and you see any sort of antitrust activity going on, a conversation about, hey, let's not work with this company or this vendor or that vendor, you need to make a comment on there and say, hey, this is borderline antitrust conversation, and I have to leave this this text chain now. So just make sure you go on record like that if you ever see anybody saying, hey, what if we didn't use this company or that company? However, those Facebook groups can be instrumental in finding new tips, new ideas, motivation. So please make sure that you are using your Facebook account for some business growth as well. Weigh in on those conversations, give advice, tell people what you're doing. There are people all over the country. And there are some great ideas shared in those groups. Anybody have any other ideas before we move on to our next topic? Okay. All right, our next topic today is going to be NAR's safety resources. I know you all are very aware of the real estate agent with Keller Williams who was attacked 2 weekends ago. And National Association of Realtors has put on their website some safety resources. So I want to share the link to that to you. And I'm going to share my screen for a moment and we're going to go there. So I'm going to share my screen now. I know if you're driving, you won't be able to watch it very effectively, and that's okay. So let's go to this link. So this is just a page on the National Association of Realtors website under real estate topics. And this is their page on safety. So there are going to be links to all sorts of resources that they have available. There is even a safety program reimbursement grant for associations to be able to host some safety classes. So I thought I might take this idea to the board of directors meeting next week and just chat with the board of directors at RVAR about perhaps looking into this safety program reimbursement grant program and just see if there might be some offerings for us locally that we might want to do. And then NAR would reimburse RVAR for the expense. There are some safety webinars. There is a whole page on planning your safety strategy. And it goes down through here. There's a 3-hour training session. There is worksheets, action plan worksheets. There's a safety banner you can put online. There are all sorts of resources here that NAR is making available. So this is where your membership dollars result in resources that are available to you. So if you're not on realtor.org fairly often, just looking and seeing what their offerings are, you really need to check it out. They have training, they have discounts on national products, they have videos, they have all sorts of training materials and resources. So this is here. I am happy to send the agenda via email, and you can click the link, or you can just go to National Association of Realtors and search for safety under the real estate topics. Okay. Last on our agenda today, let me stop screen sharing. Last on our agenda today is just Q&A time. Who has questions? Who has something that's come up in the last week that has surprised them? Anybody have a multiple offer situation they've been dealing with this past week? I know I have. It has been very frustrating. Anybody like to share?
I got one. I got a question for you. I'll ask you anyway. So I took a client to look at a house yesterday that has been on the market for quite some time. It's been under contract 3 different times, and it just came back on recently. I asked the agent if an inspection had been done, and their response was that yes, the inspection had been completed, that the appraisal had been completed, and that the reason for this last break was the buyer's financing. Okay.
Okay.
So I asked her, I asked the individual if they could send me the home inspection report in advance. And her response was, well, if we get under ratify, if we ratify something, be happy to send it to you. Okay. So then my next question was, is there anything in that, anything come up that we should know about? And her response was the only issues that the previous buyer asked to be repaired was to have the HVAC and the AC serviced. Okay.
Okay.
That was the response. It kind of struck me as odd. Something in that conversation threw a flag for me, and I couldn't quite figure out what it was. But I don't know. In other situations, I've absolutely had agents provide me the home inspection and report, and I know that's not required. So, long story short, I connected the dots to a previous conversation that I'd had with another agent, and sure enough, they were one who had been under contract on this house before. I asked them about the home inspection report. The house tested high for radon, significantly high. And it had some other major issues with the roof and the roof and something else, actually. Some foundation issues. And I felt like that, at what point are we supposed to disclose? So let's say if I put the shoes on the other foot, because I don't think I understand. I thought you had to tell that stuff in advance, but maybe I'm unclear.
So
at what point do you have to, or are you expected to?
So the first thing I should discuss is that the seller is never required to make disclosures about the property.
Okay.
Unless it's one of the Virginia residential property disclosure items, which you'll be most commonly associated with lead-based paint. Lead-based paint is the one you're used to having the seller disclose, because that is one of the Virginia residential property disclosure requirements. Now, in our area, there usually are not others. There's Chinese drywall and some wetland disclosures, but we really just deal with lead-based paint here. I suspect that radon may eventually end up on that list as a required disclosure. I've been watching radon become more and more relevant, not prevalent. I mean, it's the breakdown of rock in the ground and the gases that are released. So it's been around forever. But I would say it's become top of mind in the last probably 8-10 years. So I would not be surprised if they end up adding that one to the required Virginia residential property disclosures. Currently, it is not. So you're going to be used to having sellers disclose whether they have any actual knowledge or not of lead-based paint. But really nothing else is required. The seller's obligations are to be honest. So if you ask the listing agent, would you please ask your seller if they have ever had water in the basement? They can't lie. And they can't just put drywall up over termite damage because that's fraud. So they can't lie to you, but they're not required to disclose it to you. Now, the listing agent has a much higher obligation for disclosure, which seems very, very odd because we're not the owner of the house. But because you're a realtor, you are going to have the obligation to disclose defects that you know about the property at the latest point of contract writing. So if I were that agent's broker, I would have suggested that they have a conversation with their seller that the seller does not need to disclose any of the defects that were discovered during any of those previous inspections. However, we should probably go ahead and look at getting those fixed so that the listing agent is not going to have a disclosure obligation that may prevent people from making an offer on the house. This is very common. It does not, you can't go around it by switching listing agents if you're staying at the same firm. The seller can go around that by hiring a different agent at a different firm and just saying to the new listing agent from a new firm, not going to tell you anything about the house. Don't ask. Now, I would argue that as the listing agent, I'm going to ask, hey, anything I need to know about your property? Is there water in the basement? Are there any defects I need to know about? Because let's get them fixed now, or let's get in front of them and disclose them. Because what's going to happen is the threshold is that the agent knows about, has actual knowledge about, or should have known. So I have a real problem when listing agents say, yeah, buyer, you can have inspections, but don't send us the report because we don't want to know. I have trouble with that. I'm not so sure that's going to hold up under the should have known qualifications. So I am much more about getting my seller on board with going ahead and getting in front of the disclosure, or better yet, getting it fixed. Stevie, did you have something to add?
I do. I have a question. I have my father-in-law's house on the market. It's a Medicaid sale, and it's as is, where is, and inspections welcome. Seller to make no repairs. I've got that all up front because it's a Medicaid sale. It's not, the seller is in a nursing home. We don't know. I mean, the house is in great shape from what we can see and what we know. And I know nothing of, I've asked them, do you know of anything crazy? And they have not. But because we have to sell it at tax assessed value, no closing costs, all that stuff, we're saying you can get an inspection for your own knowledge, but I mean, nothing's come up, but no offers yet. But yeah, I mean, we have no money to repair things.
Right.
So should that happen, and we've disclosed it all up front, is that still not a good thing to say or do? Because
I think you're in a strange circumstance that it really is going to be as is, and you've got your hands tied on a lot of the processes because it's a Medicaid sale.
The house is, from what we can tell, is in great shape. They took really good care of it, but we didn't live there. We don't know anything about it.
Right. And as you receive offers, you may discover defects that you didn't know anything about. Now, that obviously does not burden the seller with a disclosure requirement, but it does burden the agent with a disclosure requirement. And that's when it's important to have a conversation with the seller to say, hey, you don't have to disclose this, but unfortunately, I have to disclose this. Now, I don't believe you have to put it in the private remarks. You may want to, to be as risk adverse as possible.
I have no more room in the private remarks.
Right. And you're not required.
It's just full of, this is a Medicaid sale and call agent for details and all that.
You're not required to put defect disclosures in the private remarks. Lots of agents do, because it can be a very good best business practice if you want to make sure that you have been very transparent about a defect on the property. But it's not required. You know, you're required to disclose it at or before contract writing. So you may choose to just put something in the private remarks that says, you know, contact listing agent prior to writing offer. And then you've got an opportunity to disclose whatever it is you want to disclose.
I mean, we have nothing that we're disclosing.
Right.
I guess if we had an offer, we had a contract, somebody backed out because of a material adverse defect, that would be different.
Correct.
Okay.
Because then you'd have actual knowledge of it. Right. Carla, did that help you at all?
I don't know, Ash. I'm still confused. I mean, because it feels unethical. It feels like a setup to let me write a contract, send it over to you when you know there are issues that then kind of tie my hands and I have to fight to back out about stuff that you already knew.
I agree. And if I were that agent's broker, I would be saying you have a disclosure obligation at or before contract writing. So I'm not saying you need to provide the home inspection report, but you do need to disclose material defects that were discovered during that. Anybody have anything else to add about that? Hi, Walter, please.
Yeah, I've been in that situation as the listing agent, and I prefer not to even look. I mean, if the buyer's agent comes back to me with the original home inspection and says, you know, there's too much wrong here, we're not going to move forward, I don't even look at it. And I tell them, don't send it to me. I don't want to know. Send me a release of contract.
And that may bite you in the rear end one day. I have no disclosure obligation. But, right.
And I'm not going to provide anything to you as the buyer's agent because I don't have anything.
And across the country, brokers have gone back and forth on whether that meets the threshold for should have known. You have actual knowledge or you should have known. And brokers cannot decide what, and NAR is certainly not making a statement as to what's going to be the right answer on that. Yeah.
I will tell you this though, I did have some clients 2 or 3 years ago, and we had one of those deluge rainstorms the day before closing. The buyer went over there. The basement was, you know, leaking, considerable amount of water in the basement. My client told me, you should have told me they were doing the walkthrough. I could have gone over there and vacuumed up the water. And I said, well,
and Walter, thanks for your background A game today. I appreciate it.
Ashley, did you see the note from Carla about completing some of the free certifications last month?
Oh no, what did it say?
That she took advantage of some of that free stuff last month.
Oh, that's great.
I finished it last night.
Oh, cool. Well, Jennifer, what were you working on?
The ePro.
Cool.
That's what I did.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because they were during coronavirus, they've been making some of the certifications free. So that's awesome. And of course, we know Walter finished the C2EX, which was a lot, but he got it done.
Where do you go to do those?
Realtor.org. If you go to Realtor.org, they're going to have those certifications there available for you to apply for. And many of them have been free during coronavirus. So just knock a few out. All right, guys. Well, we're going to wrap up. We're going to have a guest speaker next week. So I will let you guys know who that's going to be. Bye, everybody.
Bye.